My name is Peggy Mikelonis, and I served in the United States Army Nurse Corps from the years 1970 to 1972. I served 1 year stateside at Huntsville, Alabama in a 52-bed hospital, and my second tour was in the Republic of Vietnam. I was in 3rd Surge Army Hospital, way down in the Mekong Delta. I was a very young new nurse. I had only been out of nursing school a year. I had spent a year stateside, so I think probably one of the greatest challenges was feeling my comfort zone working. I spent a lot of my time working in the emergency department. So, I mean, I was trained by corpsmen, I was trained by surgeons. I mean, we were literally on-the-job training. It's like, see one, do one. And that was, when I look back on it now, it was, a great challenge, but we were also young, and we weren't concerned about the war aspect. I mean, we were there taking care of the wounded. We took care of both Vietnamese as well as American soldiers. I guess now, especially at my age, because we were talking about the Vietnam Wars when I was deployed, so we begin to look back. There are certain times that you remember. I vividly remember the time it was Thanksgiving, and we were all supposed to have this huge Thanksgiving dinner in the mess hall, but then the alerts went off, and we heard the helicopters, and it was, the wounded were coming in, and so I worked in the ED, and so I never got my Thanksgiving dinner, but I do remember vividly, taking care of a young soldier who came in and had half of his face blown off, and who was still conscious, and all I could do was hold his hand and tell him everything was going to be fine. But then we were able to follow them after, where we're at. We then send them forward to Saigon, and we'd treat them there. They're with us for a while, and then we would move them on. I was able to find out later that, he had reconstructive surgery, he survived, and so it's just sometimes trying to get that final piece together to know what happened to those that you had taken care of. I was stationed with a lot of the dust-off pilots, so we partied together, we ate together, we worked together, and then a lot of times we cried together over, what we saw and what we faced. When I first came back home, it was during a time when no one wanted to talk about the war. None of my friends knew what I had gone through. I had one friend who had been deployed with me, so her and I were the only two who could talk. My family support system was my system, but when it came to friends out there, they didn't know what was going on with me. I didn't know for a while what was going on. I used to find myself underneath the bed when I would hear helicopters or if I'd hear noise. And I remember my father was probably very instrumental. He's the one who told me, don't go back to work for a while. You need to have some time to decompress, and which I really did. And then I moved from Iowa to Florida and went to work at the VA, and that's where I've been ever since. Probably one of the greatest things I think I learned from my time in the service is collegiality. How it's incredible. You hear people who've served in the military come away with an entirely different sense of family. Some of the nurses I served with this past October, we're all in our 60s now. About 7 of us, plus one husband, got together and all went to San Diego, renting a beach house, where many of us hadn't seen each other since Vietnam. We spent a whole week together, and it was like we were back in Vietnam again, and the things that we shared, the things that we had done back then, it was just so comfortable. It was the most comfortable, relaxed time I think I'd ever had. And that, to me, was a testament of what it was like to endure a very uncomfortable situation, being in war, but we came away with some very great, valuable friendships. When you're deployed together and you're in one unit, you do become a family. You got to take care of each other, and it's a lot easier to do it when you get along. And we did. Early on in my VA career, I didn't acknowledge a lot that I was a veteran either. There were no women veterans there, so why did I even want to, do that? I was a staff nurse. I had some difficulty coming back and transitioning into the VA nursing, where they really weren't recognizing what I had done in a combat zone. It was like, here, I remember the first time when they asked me to start an IV on a rubber arm, to certify me to start IVs, and I went, this rubber arm, I've been inserting, subclavian catheters, I've been, suturing, putting in chest tubes, and this, it was just that they didn't value what we had done. Over the years, as I transitioned, we started developing women's committees, and then I was asked to be a part of them. Initially, I didn't want to be, and then I transitioned into it. I said, okay, I'll become a member of your committee, And then it was, once I was a member of the committee, then I realized I had a voice. I always thank every veteran, whether it's male or female, for their service, because it's not something that every American does. It's a very unique group of people that do serve their country. And then let them know what the VA is able to do for you, and especially for women, is like, let them know we've changed. We didn't have anything many years ago. And I tell them from an honest standpoint, I know we didn't because I was there. I was part of the VA that wasn't providing for you. But we've come a long way, and come back and see what we have to offer.